Hi, Explainer Sajid here. Today, I am going to explain a Chinese fantasy thriller film called Land Shark. We see a man and son who have come fishing on the seashore at the beginning of film. Later, something bigger got stuck in the man's fishing pole. They believe that they have caught a big fish. But what they saw was the head of a cow. They are shocked as they observe this. Meanwhile, a massive creature from the sea was coming to them. When it gets close enough, they see it's a huge shark. This shark jumps into the air and then dives back into the sea after walking on the ground. Watching this, they become quite surprised at this, how a shark can walk on the ground. Later, we see about the story in the film that led 3 days ago. We see a water-based lab with scientists and doctors working on a project. We notice the lab's head, who was in charge of this project. He informs his investors that they are working on cancer medicine. Along with this, we are going to start a genetic modification. We'll gain this material over and again as a result of that. According to one of the investors, this can be quite harmful. However, the lab's chief scientist was confident in his experiments. Later on, a doctor shows his control machine, which is used to control the shark. In this lab, we see Aten, a little boy with a lot of knowledge about this shark. That is why the lab's scientists and doctors have kept him with them. The head of the lab asks this boy to call the shark. This boy hangs a dead fish with a rod, and after a large shark emerges, and begins to eat the fish. After seeing this scene, everyone goes in a bad state. The shark again goes back. After a while, the lab's director asks to begin the project's third phase begin. Meanwhile, a girl who used to work for him says that we haven't received any test experiment results. That's why starting so early could be dangerous. But the head doesn't care about anything and orders to start third phase. Later, everyone gets ready to transfer genes into the sharks. They send one of their machines into the lab to the shark. That, after visiting there, undergo a genetic transformation. The shark's nature changes, but their experiment becomes still successful. The people of this lab become quite happy. On the other side, the shark undergoes numerous changes. The secretary of the lab who was resisting the head. She was standing in front of the glass when the shark started to approach it. Meanwhile, she notices the shark and moves away. The head of the lab arrives and informs his secretary that he will be taking her youngest daughter. He instructs her to pick him up whenever she has free time. After that, we see another doctor on the phone. Later, emergency alarms begin to turn on. Watching this, the doctor calls everyone and they all become quite worried. Because the health indicator of the shark begins to drop. Watching this, the girl who worked with the head waves the signal to the shark. However, the shark's heart rate has fallen completely. They were all sure that the shark had died. However, a shark attacks their tanker and kills a doctor on board. They're all terrified of what they're seeing, so they close the tank right away. However, no one there understands why this shark was eating people. That boy, who knows everything about the shark, also shows up. He inquires of the doctors and scientists as to what they did with the shark. Meanwhile, a glasses-wearing doctor informs him that he doesn't need to know anything. In the meantime, the shark attacks their glass of the lab. They were all convinced that this shark would not be able to break the glass. Because it was bulletproof, the shark breaks the glass the next second. Because everything happened so quickly, no one could do anything. And no one could control themselves. In the lab, there was a lot of water, and everyone has sunk. Their situation was critical. They all emerge from the sea after a while. Later, Aten requests that everyone shouldn't shout because shark was attracting them. A girl falls into the sea by accident, and a shark kills and eats her. Meanwhile, another doctor begins to scream as a shark begins to approach him. The boy tries to get the tranquilizer. Unfortunately, the plachi was locked. The boy breaks the glass, and the shark begins to come as a result of the noise. Meanwhile, the boy manages to escape the shark. Another chubby kid, named Mounty, came to his rescue. Later, this boy uses a tranquilizer to shoot a shark, but his target is not hit. That fat boy was going to be attacked by the shark. However, this boy fixes the tranquilizer, and the shark faints. The boy who has all the information about sharks tells them his plan. He tells us that we should leave now, but they are all terrified. They had to cross the water because the shark was still present. That had fainted and could awaken at any time. They don't have any other options, though. As a result, they must swim till they reach the door. In the meantime, one of the girl's hands starts to bleed. The shark wakes up when it smells her blood. There, the girl kills the shark, and everyone's condition worsens. In order to save him, the doctor with spectacles sands another boy in front of the shark. When they arrived at the door, it was locked and would not open. They notice a ventilation system in their lab and decide to use it to walk outside. Finally, they all come outside and believe they are no longer in danger. They are shocked, though, when seeing the cracks in the ground. They are aware that there is still a problem. We see the lab secretary, whose name was Cyan, whom she remembered about her daughter. We see her daughter, who was taken by the lab's head. She was swinging. That is, she senses movement behind her and the shark flies to the ground. The child feels afraid as he watches the shark. She goes inside a pipe to save herself, but the shark breaks the pipe and chases her down, to capture her to eat. Later, the boy Aten arrives and saves the girl, accompanying Cyan to run. When Aten finds his people, he tells them to flee. They didn't understand why Aten was saying this at first. However, they are shocked when they see shark rushing across the ground. They immediately start running, and one of them falls to the ground in the process. And the shark captured him. To save him, another friend holds him, but the shark takes him with her. From there, the boy hides everyone and continues running in front of the shark. He was going to be attacked by a shark, but he hangs to somewhere. The shark falls in water while attacking. Later, Cyan and Mounty beings her out and they flee from there. When they are resting, Aten inquires as to how you have done this to the shark. Meanwhile, Cyan says that the crab's genetic material has been turned into shark genes. As a result of the genetic mutation, the shark can now walk on land. Meanwhile, the spectacles doctor sees another man's body is bleeding. He warns everyone that the shark would come for us because of his blood, so we should leave him here to die. Otherwise, our lives will be threatened. Yet, no one was prepared for this. Meanwhile, a shark attacked and ate the injured man, and they were all fleeing for their lives. A shark began chasing them, and the doctor, who was wearing glasses, fell in front of it. When that girl appears, the evil man throws her in front of the shark in order to save him. The glasses-wearing doctor was badly hurt. As a result, the shark bites him rather than the girl. The shark eats him because of his blood. Later, the shark began to approach the girl again, causing everyone to become terrified. Meanwhile, the lab's director arrives with his troops. With their gun, they continue to strike on the shark. The shark starts to move, but they try to trap the shark. However, it was impossible, and in the meantime, Aten fires his grenade at the shark. The next time, he goes to fire, the head of the lab forbids them. The scientist, who is the head of the lab, wants to capture this shark alive at any cost. He asks Aten for his help, but he clearly rejects it. During this time, the lab's head shoots a girl who is a member of their group. He also points his rifle towards Cyan. Aten gets more ragged as a result of this, although they had no control over anything. As a result, which Aten must agree to afterward, they all take a boat to find the shark in the sea. When they dive into the water, they discover that the shark has killed a large number of people. Cyan tries to trace the shark, but she is aware that it is on its way to the city. Later, we watch the film's opening scene. In a city where a shark has jumped and reached. After entering the city, shark caused havoc on everything. Everyone was hurriedly fleeing for their lives. After that, a shark appears in front of a small girl and was going to eat it, but meanwhile, Cyan activates signal waves, causing the shark to become attracted to the signals by leaving the girl. The shark has begun chasing them. Later, we see Bounty at the boat seat applying some sauces on the dead fish and throws it in the sea by sticking the meat hook with. Cyan finds the video of the city and asks to bring out the hook from the sea, but the shark has come there and the meat hook was stuck in her mouth. The shark begins to pull their boat. Later, Cyan faints in this boat and the other people fall into the water. Shark comes on the ground by taking the boat, which Aten also falls down. Shark enters a cave by boarding a boat that also had Cyan. She awakens in a cave after regaining her senses. Cyan pulls out her controlling device later. However, she couldn't find any signs of the shark. Watching this, Cyan sends the signal to the shark. Meanwhile, she knows that the shark is behind her. The people from the lab's head arrive and begin firing on the shark. The shark faints after receiving a high-voltage electrical shock. Meanwhile, the head of the lab after coming to the shark begins to smile after touching her. Aten comes there and was going to take Cyan with him. Meanwhile, the head of the lab stops them and tells them his purpose was to create a bioweapon. He claims that, "I don't want anyone else to be aware of this." He was about to kill them both as well, but the shark awoke. Everyone becomes terrified, and the shark eats Lab's head in the meantime. Everyone rushes out to save them, as they watch this. However, many other people are killed by sharks. During this turmoil, ice smoke falls and spreads throughout the area. The shark takes advantage of the fact that nothing was visible. The shark begins to kill them all, and only one guy survives. He was shooting his gun, while the shark stood behind him and he eats that man as well. Aten, on the other hand, wants to kill this shark. He takes the controlling device from Cyan and flees. As a result, the shark starts to pursue him. Cyan proceeds to tosses up the controlling device she has. So the shark could open her mouth, but it was on height. That's why Aten couldn't fire that grenade on him. The shark was about to eat Cyan and watching this Aten fears. Meanwhile, Mountie arrives and tosses a dead fish through the air. When the shark opens her mouth to eat these sharks. Meanwhile, Aten fires the granite in her mouth, and the shark dies as a result of the blasts. Cyan and Mountie don't see Aten anywhere. They were thinking that he might have died and begin to cry a lot. They become sad, but Aten was standing behind them. Both become happy to see them and Cyan hugs Aten. We see a baby shark who was born to the shark in the closing scene. This film ends here.